I never thought I would feel this way about my own daughter, but here I am, sitting on my couch, staring at my phone, scrolling through pictures of a wedding I was not invited to. Not a single text, not a single call, nothing. I spent over 20 years giving everything I had to Jessica, every ounce of love, every sacrifice, and this is what I got? Invisible, forgotten, like I did not even exist? I had always been the rock of our family, the one everyone leaned on, the one they called when life got messy. I never said no. Why would I? That is what mothers, grandmothers, aunts do. We hold everything together. We make sacrifices. We love even when it hurts. But somewhere along the way, that love starts to feel invisible, and it hits you in the hardest way on the day you least expect it. I remember when Jessica was born, I stayed up all night rocking her, changing her diapers, making sure she was warm and fed. I never missed a school event, a play, a recital. I made sure she never felt left out, even when money was tight and I was exhausted. She called me mom, and sometimes even her best friend, and I believed her. I thought our bond would last forever. When she got engaged, I was over the moon. I threw myself into planning everything. I helped pick the venue, the flowers, the decorations, even made the DIY invitations myself. I stayed up nights putting everything together, wanting her day to be perfect. I thought she appreciated it. I thought we were close. But little things started happening. Calls got shorter, texts became curt. Don't worry, Ma, we got it. I told myself I was just overthinking it. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was imagining it. But my gut, it told me something was off. Then came the wedding day. I woke up early, dressed my best, did my hair, put on makeup, ready to celebrate my daughter. I called a few old friends thinking maybe I would celebrate her big day in my own way. And then the pictures started rolling in. Social media, texts from friends. And that is when it hit me. There was Jessica laughing, dancing, surrounded by friends and family. And me, not a single picture, not a single mention. I was not there. I had not been invited. I tried to call, no answer. I texted, no reply. My chest, it felt tight, heavy, like someone had pressed it down with all their weight. I felt invisible, unvalued, unwanted. And it was not just the wedding, it was everything leading up to it. The small things I had ignored, the dismissive comments, the times my advice was brushed off, the way calls only came when someone needed something. It all added up. I was not loved for who I was. I was loved for what I could give. And that realization, it cut deeper than anything I had ever felt before. I sat there, phone in hand, scrolling, my chest tight, trying to hold back tears. I kept thinking about all the sacrifices I had made, the late nights, working extra hours just so she could have something she wanted, the gifts, the homemade costumes for school plays, the endless drives to practices and events. And now I was not even acknowledged. I had been a background character in my own daughter's life. I didn't want to feel angry, but I couldn't help it. I felt betrayed. And then something strange happened. I started to feel something else. A spark, a thought. Maybe I deserved better. Maybe my love, my time, my effort, they were valuable. And I realized I didn't have to accept being treated like I didn't matter. Not anymore. I decided then I needed to take care of myself first. I needed to protect my heart. I needed to set boundaries. For years, I had given and given, expecting nothing, believing that love alone was enough. But now I understood that love without respect is worthless. I booked a weekend trip alone, just me and my thoughts. For the first time in years, I let myself be selfish. I walked on the beach, had my favorite meals, and allowed myself to feel happy without guilt. And it felt freeing. That weekend made me realize I had a choice. I could sit at home, let this betrayal define me, or I could rise above it, take control of my life, and finally prioritize myself. For the first time, I felt powerful, not loud, not aggressive, but quiet, steady, knowing my own worth. I was not angry for anger's sake. I was angry for me. And that kind of anger, that kind of clarity is life-changing. When I returned home, I started making changes. I started setting limits, saying no, realizing that my energy, my time, my heart, they were precious. I still love my daughter. I still love my family, but I refuse to let them take advantage of my heart anymore. I started investing in myself, my hobbies, my friendships, my happiness. Slowly, the weight of feeling invisible began to lift. I remembered a time years ago when Jessica asked me to help her move into her first apartment. I spent an entire weekend carrying boxes, painting walls, assembling furniture. I barely slept, barely ate. And I did it with a smile. At the time, she hugged me and said, "Thanks, Ma, you're the best." I believed it then. I thought those words meant she appreciated me, truly appreciated me. But now I see that was just expected of me. That was the minimum, nothing more. The confrontation with Jessica was inevitable. About a week later, I called her. I knew I needed closure, not revenge. "Jessica, we need to talk." There was silence. Then her voice light and cheerful like nothing had happened. "Hey, Ma, yeah, sure, what's up?" I took a deep breath. "I saw the pictures from your wedding. I wasn't invited. Can you explain that?" Her voice hesitated. "Oh, Ma, it was just a small wedding. We didn't think." "Small wedding?" I interrupted. "Small wedding doesn't erase decades of love, support, and sacrifices. You didn't think I deserved to be there? My presence was optional?" I could hear her fumbling for words, tried to justify herself, but nothing made sense. I felt the years of being overlooked, dismissed, rise to the surface. "I supported you every step of the way, every choice you made. And this is how I'm treated? I am not your ATM. I am not invisible. I am your mother, and I deserve respect." There was silence. Finally, she whispered, I didn't think it would hurt you." And that's when I realized the truth. She never considered me a person with feelings. She considered me a utility, a safety net, someone who would always be there. And like any safety net, she assumed I'd catch her no matter what. But I had my own life, my own needs, my own worth, and I wasn't going to let her disregard that anymore. I decided to reclaim my life. I focused on myself, on things I had neglected for decades. I started spending time with friends who valued me, traveling, exploring, doing things that made me happy. And you know what happened? People noticed. They started calling, texting more. But now I chose when and how to engage. My love, my time, my presence, they no longer were automatic. They had value. I don't dwell on that wedding anymore. The pain taught me something I could never unlearn. My self-worth is not tied to anyone else's approval. My happiness is not dependent on recognition from people who don't appreciate me. I'm finally free. I answer to no one when it comes to my emotional well-being. Sometimes Jessica tries to reach out and I answer on my terms. I'm not bitter. I'm wiser. I know now that love without boundaries is not love, it's exploitation, and I refuse to be exploited ever again. Life is funny that way. The moment you stop giving to those who don't value you, you make room for people who actually do. And the best part, I've never been happier. I've never felt more alive. I finally learned that loving yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. And if you're watching this, wondering if anyone else feels invisible, overlooked, or taken for granted by the people you love, know this. You are worthy. You are important. You deserve to be seen, heard, respected. Never let anyone convince you otherwise, because at the end of the day, your peace, your happiness, your self-love, that is priceless. I started thinking about all the times I had said yes when I wanted to say no. All the times I had given when I wanted to take, all the times I had pushed aside my own feelings to make sure everyone else was comfortable. I realized I had been living in a shadow. I had been fading into the background, believing my love alone was enough, believing my presence alone would be appreciated. But now I knew that love without acknowledgement is hollow, and that presence without respect is meaningless. I remembered the first time Jessica went away to summer camp. I stayed up all night worrying about her, thinking about all the things that could go wrong, all the things I should have said and done, making sure she had everything she needed. And when I drove to pick her up at the end of the summer, she ran past me to hug her friends, and I waited outside the cabin feeling invisible again. That was the first time I realized my love didn't guarantee attention or appreciation, and it hurt in ways I couldn't explain. Over the years, I had learned to mask that hurt with smiles and reassurances. I told myself it was okay, that she was happy, that her life was full, that my sacrifices were worth it, if only for her joy. And now all those years of masking and self-denial felt heavy, like stones pressing against my chest. I wanted to scream, to shake the world and say, I'm here, I'm important, my feelings matter. But instead, I cried quietly alone, feeling like a ghost in my own home. I began to write in a journal, pouring out everything, the anger, the hurt, the disappointment, the love, the hope that maybe one day she would see me for who I am, not just for what I do for her. I wrote about the time she had ignored my advice, the time she had brushed off my concerns, the time she had taken me for granted. I wrote until my hand hurt, and the paper was filled with raw emotion that I had never shared with anyone. And for the first time, I felt a weight lift from my soul. I felt lighter, freer, like I had reclaimed a piece of myself I had thought lost forever. I started to reach out to friends I had lost touch with, the ones who had always valued me, the ones who had always seen me as a person with worth. And I realized how many connections I had allowed to fade because I was focused on giving to someone who did not recognize my value. I spent days reconnecting, laughing, reminiscing, making plans for the future. And each time I felt more alive, more seen, more appreciated. And I realized that love flows in many directions and that sometimes the most important love you can give is to yourself. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I was shook for days, staring at that damn phone thinking, how the hell did I end up like this? All those years busting my ass for someone who don't even notice me? And you know what the craziest part? I started questioning myself, like maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut and let shit slide. But nah, I ain't built that way. I've been loving hard all my life. I've been giving all my heart and my time and my energy. And damn it, I deserve respect. I started thinking back to when she was a kid, man. I remember Jessica at 6 running around the backyard screaming at the top of her lungs like a tiny tornado. I chased her everywhere, laughing, trying to catch her, but she was fast. She was always fast. I remember her first heartbreak. I stayed up nights crying with her, hugging her, telling her it's gonna be all right, even though my own heart hurt, because I hated seeing her in pain. I bought her ice cream and cheesy movies and let her cry into my shoulder. And I thought that was what being a good mom was about, giving everything, even if it kills me inside. But now I see that sometimes all that giving made me forget to protect myself. Then there was a time she wanted a puppy, and I went and got one. I stayed up nights making sure it didn't pee on the floor, taking it to the vet, buying all the damn accessories she wanted. And you know what she did? She loved the puppy more than she ever loved me. I remember feeling that sting in my chest, that little pinch of like, why am I always last? Why does my love feel invisible? It stayed with me for years, but I brushed it off, told myself that's just kids growing up, that's just life. I thought the love I gave was enough to cover all the invisible cuts, but it wasn't. It never was. So after that wedding hit me like a ton of bricks, I started thinking, damn, maybe I've been playing myself all along. Maybe I've been giving to people who don't even see me. Maybe all this love I've been handing out like candy don't mean nothing unless it's respected. And that's when I started doing things for me. I started taking long walks in the middle of the night, just me, headphones blasting my favorite songs, feeling the air on my skin. I started cooking the meals I like, watching the shows I like, no interruptions, no arguing, no one needing anything from me, just me. And it felt good, man. It felt real good for the first time in forever.
I even started hitting up old friends I hadn't talked to in years, like, hey, remember me? We used to ride bikes to school together. Or remember that dumb road trip we took when we were kids? I started laughing again. I started feeling alive again. And each day I realized, man, I don't need no one to validate my existence, my happiness, my peace, my worth. That shit comes from me. I've been sleeping on myself for decades, but now I'm wide awake and ain't no going back. I got this little notebook I've been writing in like every day, spilling all my feelings, everything that got bottled up. I write about how Jessica ignored me, how she brushed me off, how I felt invisible, how I wanted to scream at her. And I ain't holding back nothing. I write all the dirty feelings, all the truth, all the anger, all the love, all the hope I've been suppressing. And it's cathartic, like I can feel the weight of years leaving my shoulders. And that's what I knew, man. I'm not broken. I'm not invisible. I'm just finally realizing I've been sleeping on my own worth for way too long. And let me tell you, man, the confrontation with Jessica, that shit was messy. She called me weeks later. I answered, because I ain't petty. But I needed to get my words out. I said, Jessica, we got to talk. She sounded nervous, like, oh, here she goes. I took a deep breath and said, I saw the wedding pictures. I was not invited. You got to explain this. And she stuttered. She mumbled, oh, Mom, it's just a small wedding. And I snapped in my head, small wedding. Don't erase decades of love. And I said, look, Jessica, love is cool, but respect is everything. You can't have one without the other. After that call, I felt lighter, but also angry in a good way. Like, finally, I said what I needed to say, and I ain't holding back no more. I started living life on my terms. I joined a yoga class. I started running, met new people, friends who actually checked on me, and not just when they needed something. I started planning trips I've been dreaming about since I was a teenager. And you know what, man? It felt good. It felt liberating to not have to ask permission or seek validation from anyone. And every time I laughed or smiled, I could feel that invisible weight lifting off me slowly but surely. And let me tell you, the little moments hit hard too, like seeing a couple with a toddler at the park and remembering all the times I chased Jessica through the sprinklers or the ice cream truck or the school field trips. Man, those memories are bittersweet because I see how much love I poured in, but they also remind me I got to protect my heart. I got to set boundaries. I ain't saying I don't love Jessica. No, I love her, but I love me more now. I learned that the second I stop sacrificing my peace for people who don't value me, that's when life starts making sense. Man, I gotta be honest. I started feeling alive in ways I never imagined. Like, I didn't even know life could feel like this after decades of just surviving. I started exploring hobbies I dropped years ago, painting, making jewelry, even tried salsa dancing, and damn, I was terrible. But I didn't care. I laughed my ass off. I was free. I met people who had my back, who saw me for me, not for what I could do for them. And it was refreshing. It was intoxicating. It was a wake-up call. I had been sleepwalking through life, thinking my love alone was enough. But now I realize, man, love without respect is just pain in disguise. Even Jessica reached out a few times after that, and I responded on my terms. I ain't petty. I ain't bitter. I'm wise now. I know what I deserve. I ain't running to fix every mistake she made. I ain't apologizing for standing up for myself. I told her, hey, I love you, but you got to see me for me, not just what I do for you. And she got quiet. Then slowly she started understanding. I ain't saying she fully got it, but I know she started seeing me differently, and that's enough for me. I even started mentoring young women in my neighborhood, showing them how to love themselves, how to set boundaries, how not to let anyone treat them like they invisible, like I once was. And seeing them light up, seeing them realize their own worth, it hits you differently. It reminds you, man, yeah, I survived all that hurt and pain, and now I can help someone else navigate their own. It feels empowering. It feels like my life actually matters, not because of what I do, but because of who I am. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at nothing, thinking, damn, I'm finally living for me. I'm finally seen. I'm finally appreciated. And I don't need no one else's approval to validate that I'm enough. I'm whole. I'm worthy. I'm loved. And man, that feeling is unmatched. It's freedom. It's power. It's everything I've been chasing for decades. But now it's here. I ain't looking back no more. So if you watching this and you feel overlooked, invisible, unappreciated, know this, it ain't your fault. It never was. You deserve love, yes, but you also deserve respect. You deserve to be valued. You deserve to be seen. And if you ever feel like you got to give everything to someone who don't see you, step back, take a breath, and start giving to yourself first. It's not selfish. It's survival. It's wisdom. It's the only way to finally feel alive. And trust me, once you start, you'll never go back. And that's the truth I've been living.